Now, played 2, lost 2. There's all sorts of clamour for changes, but the people who could come into the side have had no cricket. So what's the answer?
That is the problem, isn't it? With the lack of warm-up games because of the rain in Brisbane, the lack of state games in between test matches because of COVID, and generally how touring life is now. They don't play many games between test matches. So you're looking at the likes of Crawley and Bairstow as possible replacements for Burns and Pope, but those two lads have hardly batted in red ball cricket for months. Personally, I would have given Burns and Pope one more game, but I don't think anyone in that batting lineup, with the exception of Root and Milan, can complain if they are left out and they are looking for other players to come in. So it's not easy. I guess you have to go in the nets and see how they're hitting them, how they are mentally. And that's the thing for me, Mike. Now, 2-0 down, going to the MCG. It is all about your mental state and whether you're still up for the fight.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that a little bit later. But Zach Crawley being mentioned in dispatches as this sort of this white knight charging over the horizon, Nas, but he averages 11.14 in Test matches this year. That's not exactly going to instill confidence in England fans, is it?
It's not, and he's a real anomaly because those stats are stark, really. Averaging 11, but England fans will remember the magnificent 260 he got against Pakistan at the Ageas Bowl a couple of years ago. He's got a game suited for Australia. He's also slightly more attacking. I think he'll put the pressure back on the Australian opening bowlers if he does open the batting instead of Burns. So I can see why, the potential in someone like Zach Crawley, you've always got to pick on potential. The upside for someone like Zach Crawley, if he does crack Test match cricket, is huge. So I fully understand why they picked him, A, for the tour, and B, if he comes in for replacement. But as we've just said, the problem is he's not had a proper game since the last time he batted for Kent in red ball cricket. So he'd have had a little hit in the warm-up game with the England boys, but not a lot else. They say that it's a bit green at the MCG, and Stark and Cummins and no Hazelwood, but Richardson's going to be a massive threat as well. So it won't be easy, but it's not supposed to be in a test match in Australia.
Absolutely. Nas, answer something for me. It's bothered me for years. Why is it when teams make changes, they're pretty much always in the bowling department? Why is that?
I guess in the bowling, it's horses for courses. So that every test match you go and you look at the pitch and you think, well, we need a different type of attack for this surface. An attack that you needed in Brisbane, you may not need in Adelaide, and you might need something different in Melbourne. Whereas you hope in your batting lineup that you've got batters that can cope in most conditions. And I can read between the lines of what you're trying to say, Mike. Basically, batters don't get dropped and bowlers do. And I've heard this from Ian Botham and Bob Willis and Paul Allott in the Sky commentary box for years, and you make a very valid point. That might change this test match, though. It
might indeed. I've got another question for you. Why are England dropping so many catches?
Well, I mean, the stats tell you that they're virtually down the bottom with Bangladesh. They're creating more chances because they've got such fine seamers in Broad, Anderson, Robinson, Wokes. With the Duke's ball in England, you're going to get a lot of edges, but they're not catching them, and they keep changing their slip cordon. And if Burns goes out this game, they're going to change that slip cordon again. Stokes, England's best catcher, is not in there because of his broken finger, and they're worried about that. Any side has a settled slip cordon is often the best. When I played against Australia and you look behind you and you had Healy, Taylor, Warne, Waugh, Ponting or Gilchrist for Healy, you knew if you nicked it 99 times out of 100, you were gone. So England haven't caught well, and that slip cordon will be rejigged again this week.
Yeah. Have England messed up selection so far in this series?
They've said not. Which surprised me. Chris Silverwood said after the second game that they haven't. At Brisbane, they turned up on a green top and played a balanced attack with extra pace of Wood and the spin of Leach. And then they went to a real flat pitch in Adelaide with 40 degrees forecast and a dry pitch and left out their spinner and left out their extra pace and went in with Broad and Anderson, as you're showing now, and 5 right-arm medium-fast bowlers. I thought they got that the wrong way round, but Silverwood, when asked after the Adelaide Test said, no, the selections were fine. We just didn't put our disciplines as high as we should have done. I think they've got selections wrong for the 2 Test matches. They almost reacted in Adelaide to what they should have done in Brisbane, and also they've almost planned months in advance. And they did it in Ahmedabad against India. They played 4 seamers in Ahmedabad under lights because they thought it will swing round corners, and 28 of the 30 wickets fell to spin. So just look down what's in front of you, not what, 3 months in advance.
Yeah, let's talk Chris Silverwood then. In the week, he said he is the man to take England's Test cricket forward. Is he?
Well, you wouldn't say at the moment. The results are showing that. He's got 3 very, very big games coming up. I never like to write people off. People have been writing off Root and Silverwood. I never like to do that. A, as a pundit, B, as an ex-player, and C, as an England fan, while there's a live series going on. I think, they should get some support. They can still come back. History tells you that they probably won't. But while there's hope, I think that, Silverwood and Root are the men in charge, and they've got to start getting decisions right, though, Mike. I have to be honest, so far, it's been a shocking tour off the field for decision-making. Even going back to your original question, Crawley and Bairstow, if they come in this game, why didn't they play in the Lions game? They had 1 Lions game in Australia, and Crawley and Bairstow and Lawrence and Broad and Anderson and Parkinson and Crane, they didn't play in that game. And if they had played, some of those names would be better equipped to going into Test match cricket. So some of the off-field decisions that have been made do put Silverwood and Root under pressure going into this 3rd Test match.
Yeah, I want to talk about Joe Root. I'm not going to ask you to write him off, but he gave Ricky Ponting the chance to pile into him, didn't he? Did Root get that wrong?
No, actually, I don't think so, because to give the context of what you're talking about, we all felt, and I think Root himself felt, that England in that first innings were a little bit short. The stats actually showed they weren't that much short in their length compared to the Australian seamers. They're different types of bowlers. They may not be as quick. Stark, in particular, the best bowler in Adelaide there has been for Australia of late, bowled a lot fuller. So they could learn from Australia. And Root said, yeah, in the game, I should have told him to bowl it a bit fuller. And Ponting said, well, that's your job as captain. So I think Ponting's point is a very valid one. That's your job. It's your job to make sure they bowl a bit fuller or take them off and get someone on. The only thing I'd say to back up Joe Root, one of the real ticks for Joe Root in the last couple of years is that he has been the captain. After Strauss couldn't do it and Cook couldn't do it, Joe Root has been the captain that has got Anderson and Broad to bowl the ball fuller in Test match cricket. And the results have been there for everyone to see. Broad in particular in the last couple of years, by bowling fuller, has got wickets. So I think in that innings, yeah, they didn't do it. But the long term, has Joe Root got England seamers bowling a bit fuller? He sure has.
Yeah, right, Nasser. Now, you've done this, so you can tell us. What is it like to play in a Boxing Day Test match at the MCG?
Well, slightly different for me, Mike, because this tour is a different schedule. In our tours, it used to be the 4th Test, and we were usually out of the series by now. I famously lost the Ashes in a record-breaking 11 days. I thought I'd bring that up before you did. So usually the Ashes were done and dusted. But it is still one of the great occasions. 70 in our day, it was 90,000 people. COVID, it may be 70,000 people. A real cauldron, 90% Australian. A real bowl. It is, you get lost in there. Sometimes I've seen batters not working out which way to walk off because they don't know where the changing rooms are. You just look around and it's identical all the way round, full of Australians, usually shouting at you. But it is a great, great atmosphere. It's, there'll be, the whole week is great, actually. It's obviously Christmas Day now in Australia. They'll wake up tomorrow morning. They'll have their families around them. There'll be a Christmas lunch. There'll be someone doing Secret Santa. There'll be all the things we do in England. But the only thing different is in the back of their mind is that the next day is the Boxing Day Test match, and it's one of the great sporting occasions. So you have to balance that enjoyment and fun, but also realising there's some serious stuff. I quite liked it because it made you switch off a bit. It made you just like put everything in context a little bit. and perspective that you got your family around you. It's Christmas. Enjoy it and try and go enjoy the Boxing Day test.
Yeah, I was going to finish with that. So the players actually do manage to have a bit of a Christmas.
Oh, they do. Yeah, definitely. They will have all their families. There'll all be the COVID protocols now and everything that has to happen, but they will have a massive dinner somewhere. There'll be people. In our day, we used to have people dressed up, and as I say, Secret Santas who used to be fancy dressed. I don't know if they do that now because there's such an entourage of people on the field and off the field. But you do have some fun, and maybe that's why historically we've had a couple of good results in Melbourne. We won there when Headley and Goff bowled them out on that last day. Andrew Strauss's side won there when they bowled Australia out for, 99 or something in 2010-11. So I think, with everything that's going on off the field, whether it be COVID or 2-0 down and everything that's been said by people off the field, enjoy it, enjoy the occasion. And you just never know, Mike. You never know. This Australian batting lineup have a few weaknesses in there. But England are going to have to play a whole heap better if they can get back in this series.